G'day folks, and welcome to this example of playthrough really, of the first scenario from Assault on Gallipoli. What I have here is the setup for scenario 1, the Anzac landing. As I pointed out in my unboxing video, you get a scenario booklet for the Allied player, a scenario booklet for the Ottoman player. So you can really, if you're playing two players, you can both give one to each player and they can both set these up simultaneously. Now you'll notice that the Ottoman forces start set up throughout this. This is the Anzac area of the Gallipoli Peninsula. For those of you who didn't watch the unboxing video, we've got Cape Helles way down to the south, which is principally British, French and Indian troops, and then Suvla Bay is up to the north, and that comes into play during the August offensive. Now, I've got my two kids helping me today, so you might see their hands wandering around, because this is a two-player game, and it is a card-facilitated game. So I'm going to help me. They're going to help me with some of the card plays, and particularly the combat card, the close combat card phase, because this uses a hidden hand of cards. I mentioned in the unboxing video that it's very similar to the Hannibal Rome versus Carthage or the 1989 battle card sequence. I'll run through that as we go. You'll notice, as I said, so Ottoman forces are set up defending the peninsula, and they're close to historical placements. And then we have the waves of Allied forces. Now this is, as I pointed out in the unboxing video, this is Anzac Cove, and this is where the bulk, Ari Bernu, this point here, is where the bulk of those forces landed on the morning of the 25th of April. Now over the coming days you have more British and Indian forces arriving. In fact, we have some Indian artillery as part of one of these waves. But for now, in this first morning, we're looking principally at the men of the Australian Imperial Force and the New Zealand, forgive me, Expeditionary Force, I think I referred to, which combined made up the Australian and New Zealand Army Corps. They are divided into 4 waves. So we have the first wave here. Now you have 6 units per wave, 2 officers, or leaders rather I should say, and about 4 battalions and either artillery or machine guns. And you decide, you have to have at least, oh in fact I've made some mistakes here, because you have to have at least 2, let's fix this up, you have to have at least 2 units per boat. So I made some mistakes in setup there. 2 units per boat, and I think at most 3 units per boat. It did say that on the in the rulebook, and I was like, yep, I'll do that, and then completely forgot to do it. So Okay, so we're now at legal setup. At least 2 units, maximum of 3 units per boat. So if I reveal this, you'll see the little boats under those units, and there are 3 per wave. So now we've set that up. The next thing we have to do for this special invasion scenario is to roll the dice. We pick 1 boat and we roll a d10. So I'll ask my daughter to pick a white die, and we'll pick this central boat and see what happens. Okay, so roll the die and we get a 10. Now on a 10, the units embark on North Beach and may keep moving at their full movement factor. So here we have the first wave, Colonel McLaughlin and the 9th Battalion of Queenslanders landing on North Beach. Now that's 1 movement point to land there. You'll notice the battalion has a movement rate of 4, and with McLaughlin they have an extra 2 movement points, so they can move up to 6. Our objectives, and I will point out really as well that the scenario booklets provide strategy tips for you. The Turkish shouldn't be too focused. This is Turkish strategy tips. Here we are with Anzac strategy tips. So the odds are stacked against them. They want to capture Russell's Top and Lone Pine on turn 1. The kids have probably learned about Lone Pine at school. They learn all about Anzac as part of Australian history. What else? You can capture Scrubby Knoll. You can split the Turkish forces in half. I will point out as well, so something I should note, all these little cubes, they are victory objective locations. There are 11 of these on the board. These are worth, 2 each. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 victory points up for grabs. And it's in this scenario, whoever has 6 or more the majority of victory points wins that scenario. If at any point in the game the Allies capture and hold Maltepe, they automatically win. And there's another sudden death. If at the end of any turn the Anzac player controls 6 VP, the game ends and the Anzac player win. If at any point the Ottoman player controls Anzac Cove, they automatically win. Okay, so we are trying to capture those cubes. We're trying to capture those orange cubes. There's one orange cube here at the start, the first landing on Ari Bernu. Our next boat has drifted too far to the north and has landed on North Beach. From here, we're going to go 1, 2, 3 up Walker's Ridge. So we've gone up an elevation, so it costs an additional movement point. So 1, 2, 3. We've got a couple of choices here. We can stop right here, or we can charge into Russell's Top. Now we want to rush these heights. Historically, I spoke a little bit about this. I speak more about it in my book. Historically, there was chaos throughout they'd been in the wrong place. They didn't know where to go. Battalions became broken up. And as they reached the sort of second ridge in this area here, everything broke down. There was confusion, chaos, and you had, men all in the wrong place. I digress. Let's jump into Russell's Top. So when you activate a unit, they can either dig trenches, they can fire, or they can move. So we're in this movement phase. If we move up into Russell's Top, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, we can make it up there, and we've reached Russell's Top, which consists of the Ottoman 227th Regiment and a shallow trench. I'll explain what trenches do in a moment, but this is also an objective point, and it also gives us that route towards the higher hills, Baby 700, Battleship Hill, which the Australians did advance up on that first day before being forced back. Okay, so we've completed our movement. Once you enter a space with an Ottoman force, you must stop. But here we can use what's called... not regular fire combat. It is advancing fire. Okay, so before they use advancing fire, any or all of the fresh enemy units in the area may use opportunity fire. Now this is interesting. So this is a very important decision point that the Ottoman forces make. If they use opportunity fire, so these guys will, at some point, I need to check this too, they'll become exhausted. I don't know if it's before advancing fire or after. They use their exhausted firepower factor. So they will flip to their exhausted side and then fire. But does this happen before opportunity fire? Okay, so they are exhausted the moment they sort of start movement. So these guys, well, not the leader, rather, they flip over. They are exhausted. I think the leader flips as well. Then we have Ottoman opportunity fire. So they've entered into this, probably a bit risky. We'll see, we're testing this game out and seeing what we can and can't do. So charging into Russell's Top, Ottoman Second 27th Regiment there is going to engage in opportunity fire. Now, to engage in opportunity fire, the units must be fresh, and they only fire at those units that entered that space. Opportunity fire. To engage in opportunity fire, you look at their fire rating, which is a 2. The superscripted 2 is their range, so they can shoot up to 2 hexes away. So we get 2 dice. And let's use the red dice for the Ottoman forces. They're rolling 2 dice. Now they need 4 or less to hit. Now there are a range of modifiers. Here we can see potential modifiers: long range, firing uphill, in an area containing woods, shallow trench, deep trench. That doesn't apply to people charging into your space, so we ignore that trench. Firing unit is with a leader. That regiment is not with a leader, so no modifiers apply. We're just looking at straight 4s or lessers on 2 dice, 2 red dice. Here we go. Oh no. Oh no. A 1 and a 2 means, okay, so these are reduced. Oh, this is bad. We're losing our first entire battalion. When you take a step loss, now you'll notice up here I've got the remnants. Okay, so when a unit takes a step loss, you can either eliminate them or replace them with a remnant. There aren't a lot of leaders at present, so I mean, in terms of order of losses, I don't think the defender determines how to allocate damage points. A fresh leader can absorb 2 damage points. So what I'm going to do is take that battalion 2 steps. Actually, that's only 1 step. It's 1 step to eliminate them and replace them with a remnant, which is placed on its exhausted side. And I think I can then take this remnant as the second step. Now, remnants are never permanently lost. They're just placed back in the pool. So as long as you've got that pool of remnants, you can take steps in that way, I believe, if I've understood it correctly. So damage points, you can see here, you can flip a fresh unit over to its exhausted side, reduce a unit to a remnant, or eliminate them completely. But as long as you have those remnants, units can be reduced to a smaller remnant from the pool. A unit with a strength of 2 or more, which they were on their reduced side. When their place on the board is changed, it's placed on its exhausted side, which I did. If they survive, they'll be flipped back over to their fresh side. But then I took the second hit on that remnant to try to keep McLaughlin alive. Ouch. Not a great start for the Australians. And that's their impulse. So now we flip over. No, sorry, they get to fire now, but there's nothing left to fire. So we flip over to the Ottoman impulse. It's now the Ottoman turn to go. And they get to decide what they want to do here. So a lot of options here. There's this remnant holding Plug's Plateau up here. And I like the fact that they're there. I like this remnant down here on Bolton's Hill. They're kind of slowing down these Anzac forces. There's this artillery piece here on Lone Pine, and there's not a lot of artillery in the game, so I'm thinking I'd like to activate, and when you activate a space, so you've got this big space here on Third Ridge, I can activate, let's say, 2 units to shoot, and that's all I'll do. So I pick 1 space and 1 type of action, and as many units as I want in that space can engage in that action. So what I'm going to do is activate Lone Pine here. I'm going to activate this artillery, and they're going to get the heck away from the front. They're going to try and take up a position up here on Hobbs Hill or Third Ridge. So I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, and we'll stop there. Okay, so they are exhausted. We've moved. They've abandoned their trenches on Lone Pine. They've moved back to a safe range. And historically, this is what the Ottoman forces did. They withdrew to Third Ridge and hit the Australian positions on Lone Pine and, on the front edge of this ridge, and forced them back to the west side of that ridge, of that Lone Pine Plateau. All right, so that's the Ottoman forces done. We're going to bring up the second wave, the first wave, the second boat of our first wave, and let's bring up this big stack here. So can we get a die roll for this next boat? A white die roll? Yep, and we'll bring up the table. Go ahead and see what we get. It's a 2. Okay, so we'll roll the 2. The units disembark on Brighton Beach and may keep moving up to their full movement allowance. So Brighton Beach is down here to the south. Okay, so just south of Anzac Cove, and they can keep moving. So they moved 1. Okay, well let's, Lone Pine is vacant now, so we could jump into those trenches, or we could move up Monash Valley and help out McLaughlin on Russell's Top, because he's been abandoned up there. What do you guys think? Yep, they're saying thumbs up, let's go help McLaughlin sitting by himself. In fact, hold on a sec. I seem to recall that if a leader... Let's check the rules for leaders, because I feel that if they're alone by themselves... leaders may occupy and or control it if it is with a leader, and enemies must stop when they enter. At the end of a round, when a lone leader is in any area containing enemy infantry, the leader is eliminated. Okay, so I think a round... Yep, he's dead. He's dead. We lost him, because he's alone at the end of that round. So, we can't save McLaughlin, he's died. We can instead go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now we've got Lieutenant Colonel Ware here giving +1. Oh, we can't make it that far. These guys, yes we can. They've got a movement rate of 4. They can all make it up there. Jump into the trenches, and we've captured Lone Pine. Okay? We're on progress. These guys are now all flipped over to their exhausted side. They're exhausted from marching up that hill. It's now... Oh, so let's also point out, we have this hand of cards. So these can be played at various times. You'll see there are 3 types of cards: green, orange, or red. Here we are. So yes, green can be played at any time. Brown, yellowish can be played when it's your turn. And red cards count as your entire round for that turn. So these are the allied cards. Now they start off with a force march and an aerial recon plus 3 additional cards on this first turn. Force marches add an extra 2 movement factors to one of your units or groups. You notice I've been moving these units together as a group. They can also move individually later on. Aerial recon can increase the range of artillery and ships. Maybe I should have started with some artillery, some ship fire, a bombardment of Russell's Top before I tried to charge in there. I've got courage under fire, ignore a damage point of fire combat, or can be used as a bayonet charge in close combat. We haven't seen that yet. And hand grenades, 2 extra cards in 1 close combat. We'll cover that later. Let's have a look at what the Ottomans have got in their hand. So they've got a red card, so this will be their entire turn. Return 1 eliminated land unit to the board at Maltepe. Okay, so if the Ottomans play this, they'll get a dead unit back into their hand. They have a force march, a surprise attack, add 1 to the firepower roll for an infantry unit, and good luck, re-roll any one of your or your opponent's die rolls. So as I said, they're kind of card facilitated, just kind of like boost certain things that you'll do. Okay, we've had the Anzac turn. Back over to the Ottomans. Now, what do you think the Ottomans should do? I think we got lucky here. I don't like our chances of holding Russell's Top for long, and I'm kind of tempted to pull back away and retreat. Remnant. I'm happy to leave the remnants there, but I'd like to keep this full strength regiment and pull them away. So how far can the Australians move? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If I pull them up here, just to baby 700, or I can bring reinforcements down. Let's pull them right back to Battleship Hill, way out of range, and we'll launch a counterattack later on. Okay, so historically, the Australians advance, the Ottomans had launched a counterattack down this sort of central ridge line, which forced the Australians back to the neck here. This is the front lines at the end of that, roughly at the end of the first day. In fact, there were no front lines at the end of the first day. There were just pockets of of men all over the place digging these trenches and linking up. But this was an important place for what was a horseshoe-shaped trench around the neck. Incidentally, for those of you who know Australian history, this was, I can't remember his rank, a man named Layla, who carried the sword of Peter Layla, who was in the Eureka Stockade during the gold rushes. And he was in command of the men who dug these trenches. Okay, so Ottomans have had their turn. They've just retreated up Battleship Hill. Now we've got our last boat in this first wave. Can we get a die roll for that last boat? Just a white dice to see what they do. And it's a 5. So they disembark at Anzac Cove and keep moving. So they land smack bang in the middle. And they can now charge up Plugs Plateau. Okay, so we've got 2 battalions here landing on Anzac Cove. I kept saying next time we'll use the ships. Yes, next time we'll use the ships. All right, let's get this. They're flipped over to their exhausted site. We get opportunity fire from this Ottoman remnant. Do you want to roll one red die? They've got a strength of 1, and they need 4 or less to hit. It's a miss. Now, I'll point out as well, if ever they roll a 10, we advance this killing time marker down. Once it reaches here, the day is over. All right, so there's the opportunity fire missed. We get now a chance to do advancing fire. And we do have hand grenades, which lets us roll an extra 2 dice in fire combat. I think this is I think it's good to clear Pluggy's Plateau. It was the first place the Australians cleared. So let's throw some hand grenades. We're going to use this card to throw an extra 2 dice in 1 fire combat. Well, technically, is it fire combat if it's advancing? If it's I don't think it is. I just don't know if we're allowed to use this card. Is advancing fire count as fire combat? Maybe not. So we're going to save that card until it's legal. Okay. So they use their reduced firepower. So they only roll 2 dice. So 2 white dice. There's no leaders there, so they're in trenches as well. So they'll be needing a 3 or less to hit. Double 7s, double misses. Okay, no worries. The Australians are fighting over Pluggy's Plateau. If this area remains contested, we'll have a close combat at the end of the day. Ottoman turn to move. Now these guys are locked in. Once an area is contested, nobody can leave this area. So this remnant here can't leave. All right, what shall we do with the Ottoman forces? What shall we do? Well, so we've got possibilities. This remnant can fire upon these reduced Australians, 4 or less to hit. It's only 1 dice, but it'll reduce their... Yeah, we've got a thumbs up from commanders. They're saying, yep, let's do that. All right, let's try that. Let's get this. Although, if it does that, they'll be exhausted. And... Oh, let's do it. They're only remnants, right? They've already slowed down the Australians. Okay, so they're going to shoot. They fire at 1 dice, so 1 red dice. And they need a 4 or less to hit one of these Australian battalions. No, they miss. They've done their action. They're exhausted now. Okay. All right. Let's now bring the ships into combat. Let's fire from this with this naval group. Now, incidentally, you may notice I've got the HMS Manica here. They add +1 to hit or +1 range. And if they fire on a contested area, there's a risk they'll hit friendly units. So I don't want to do that. I want to go 1, 2, 3, 4 and try and hit this remnant on Quinn's post. So we've got 2 units here, so we can get 2 white dice. No, sorry, my apologies. We get heaps of dice. This is their firepower rating. It's how many dice they roll. So they'll each be rolling lots. I really should have led with these ships. Lesson learned. All right, so let's get 11 dice. I think we have to roll a couple of dice twice, and they are going to have +1 to hit. So they're going to hit this remnant. It's almost guaranteed to wipe it out. Hit this remnant on a 5 or less. We just need one hit. Yep, there's plenty of 5 or lesses there. So the Ottoman remnant, actually -1. So we're doing 4 or less, but there's a 2 there, 2 2s there, so they're wiped out. And that remnant now, as I said, they're never eliminated. They're just placed back in the remnant pool. And the ships are done. They are all exhausted. Okay, so you can see this now. They can't shoot anymore. Anzac forces are done. Back over to the Ottomans, and we need to think. What do we do with these Ottoman forces? A lot of big stacks. Big stack here, Maltepe, big stack here. But I don't want to do too much. I'm kind of thinking, let's wait and see where the Allies, where the Anzacs land before we do too much. We're holding Gallipoli quite strongly down here under Major Ismet. In fact, we have some... Where's our artillery? It has a range of 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4. They can hit Lone Pine from here. So let's try and have a shot with our Ottoman artillery. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now there's no line of sight rules in this game. I'll cover that. I'll talk about that later. So yes, this is what we're going to do. We'll shoot with this Ottoman artillery. 4 firepower. So we need 4 red dice. And they're going to need... They're in the trenches now. So they're going to need... let me think about the modifiers here. They're going to be at long range, so it's going to be -1 to hit, and they're in a shallow trench, so -2 to hit. And if they bring in their leader, -2 to hit. If they bring in their leader, I think that'll push it up to +2. So a 4 or less on 4 dice has the potential to cause a lot of hits among those Australians. I'm just going to check the rule for artillery fire. A target 2 areas away. Oh, it's only long range only affects infantry. Okay, not artillery. Okay, so we're looking at -1 for the trenches, 3 or less, and I think we'll save our Lieutenant Colonel for later. So 4 dice. 4 dice looking at 3 or less to hit. Let's see how we go. Oh, that's terrible. There's recriminations happening amongst the commanders. So they've fired. They missed absolutely everything. I will point out as well, there are no zeros on this dice. The 10 is a 10. Okay, so it's a D10 with what is often a 0 on a dice, actually being shown by 10, which I like. There's no confusion there. 10 is 10, there are no zeros. Okay, we've gone through the first wave. We've used our ships on this beach. I reckon we use our next group of ships to hit this remnant up here. So let's fire. I'm just going to shoot 1 at a time and see how we go. So we'll shoot 5 dice, 5 red dice, and they're in a trench, so we need 3 or less to hit. 5 red dice, 3 or less to wipe them out. We just need 1 hit to hit that remnant. I see 2, just the 1 hit. That's all we need. That Ottoman remnant has been destroyed. So Fisherman's Hut. This caused a lot of trouble for Australian units whose boats drifted too far to the north. Alright, that was good. We only used the HMS Prince of Wales there. Ottoman forces responding, and again, they're kind of reluctant to do much. What I'm going to do is a limited move. I'm going to bring, so artillery with a range of 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. We're going to move them just down to Chinook Bear, and they're exhausted. Right, so I'm just, as I said, I could activate other units for movement. Incidentally, no 10s were rolled, so we don't advance the killing time marker yet either, so we're doing pretty well there. Yeah, I'm just advancing my artillery, putting them on the heights to put them in range for later turns. So they won't do anything this turn, but later turns they will. Back to the Allied forces, and I reckon range of 5, 1, 2, 3. They can ignore red lines when firing. You can't move across red lines, but you can shoot across the red lines. So let's get a hit on this regiment. So guys, 5 dice. They're not in a trench. 4 or less will hit, I think. Let me double check that. That doesn't count. Fire combat. Target is uphill. I think they're uphill, so I think uphill counts. So maybe it is a -1. So we need 3 or less on those 5 dice. There's a 3 and a 2. That's 2 hits. So they're wiped out, if I understand it correctly. Yeah. So again, they're replaced with, doesn't really matter, they're eliminated. And we've used our ships up in the north here. Alright, over to the Turkish side, and still being very cautious, but these guys over here in the Gali can move. So they can move 4, 4, 4, and they're with a commander who adds 2, so they can move 6 movement. So they can go and they might look to occupy Scrubby Knoll, this area around here. So 1, 2 to cross the river, 3, 4, 5, 6 is the best way to go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, they head this way. 1, 2, 3, 4. No, they can't go there. They can get up to Flat Ridge. And that's about as far as they can go, unless they use a forced march card, which gives their group 2 extra movement points. 5, 6, 7, 8. I think they'll get up there and Takud there. Okay, back over to the Australian side. We may as well keep going with this naval bombardment. Let's try 4 dice at 3 or less. No, 2 or less, because they're on a hill in trenches. So 4 dice. 2 or less. There's a 2. That's a hit. That's a remnant. Gone. Okay. And we've got a ship left over. 1, 2, 3. Well, I don't know. Let's see what happens. Back to the Ottoman side, and this big force over here in Maltepe, which we might. Now, with the commander, I'll point out as well. So, if you're moving a group, you can drop units off as you move. Commanders can also pick up units along the way. But they can do either or. They can't pick up and drop off. They can only do one or the other. Now I'm kind of thinking I might try to get these units up to Scrubby Knoll here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm pretty sure that everyone except the artillery can make it. So we'll go 1, 2, 3, 4. How do I get there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I can get up to Hobbs Hill. Big force up there. And I keep forgetting to exhaust these units. They moved earlier, they're exhausted. Now they've moved up here to link up with that artillery. We've got 2 Ottoman artillery pieces up here on Hobbs Hill. We've now got General Assad up here. yeah, that's going to be tough for the Australians to push through. All right, we're ready for the next boat wave. So let's roll for general bridges and 2 battalions. So we need 1 dice, and we'll see where they land. All right, a 2 means they land at Brighton Beach. That's 1. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So they've moved to Quinn's Post. Incidentally, if you want to read more about Quinn's Post, there's an outstanding book by Peter Stanley called Quinn's Post. It's an amazing book which details the history of this position. In fact, this geographical area covers sort of Quinn's Post, Courtney's Post, a few other positions, but Quinn's Post was infamous for many events and just being a horrific place to be. So yeah, they've moved. They are exhausted. Over to the Ottomans again, and let's bring our forces down from the top. And battleships are fired up in the north here, so let's try and see how far we can get. We get +3 movement with Kamal. We can split these forces up. So if he takes them, and we'll leave these guys behind for now, we can go. In fact, I'm tempted to be a bit cautious and just kind of go 1, 2, 3, 4, and hold that height at baby 700. I'm a little worried because I think if these waves land at North Beach, they may be able to reach there. But let's see what happens. All right. Turks are done. Time for another wave to arrive. Let's roll another dice and see where they end up. It's a 7, so they land up at North Beach. So they can go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Russell's top has been captured, and they'll hold there. All right, back to the Ottoman forces. And I just want to I'm thinking about, our flanks out here at Battleship Hill, and setting up a secure front line. So what I'm thinking now is get these guys, who have a movement rate of 6, to go 1, 2, 3, 4. In fact, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 onto the chessboard. A bit risky, a bit too risky perhaps. 1, 2, 3, 4. We can hold Gunner's Hill here. They can shoot across there, or they can just jump straight into here, but then they open themselves up to an attack. Do we play it safe, or do we play it aggressive? Play it safe, they're saying. Yeah, they're playing play it safe and go. No, there's a disagreement among the commanders. One saying play it safe, the other one saying be aggressive. Rock, paper, scissors for it. Scissors, paper, rock. I'm going to count it as a rock. So he's saying be aggressive. Crazy. Alright, they've moved to the chessboard. Could be interesting. We'll see. Look, this is not, again, far from optimal strategy. This is just waiting to see what happens. Okay. How far are we? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We're 5 away, but if we do an aerial reconnaissance, it increases their range by 1. So let's try that. Let's use this ship. They get 5 dice. Okay. 5 dice, increasing their range by 1. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's a trench up here, and they're on high ground. So it's going to be minus 2. Let me just double check that. Modifiers apply to artillery. So the range calculations don't apply. But I think the other modifiers do. So we're looking at 2 or less. Let's see how we go. 4, 4 dice. No, wait, was it 5 dice? I'm sorry, 5 dice. Needing 2 or less to hit here. That's a 1 hit. Alright, so they can take 1 hit from anything in here, and we can do that just by saying, okay, these guys are now exhausted. So they'll recover that hit at the end of the turn. Time for the next wave of Anzacs. Now we're looking at the 7th and 8th Battalion of Victorians, the 2nd Brigade of the AIF. And we need one dice roll to see where they land. It's a 2, so they land to the south. They go here. 1. And where do we want to go from here? Do we keep our units together, or do we try to push through? I think for now, we keep them together. So 1, 2, 3, 4. They'll occupy the trench on Bolton's Hill. They have no commander with them, so they can't get any movement bonuses. And back over the Ottoman forces. They're going to pass. They do have movements left, but they're going to pass. Now when they pass, they roll a dice. By the way, were there any 10s rolled in that dice? No 10s? Okay, so roll a dice. Whenever you pass, you roll a d10. And if you roll a 7 or more, we advance the killing time marker. No. So I don't know. I haven't really been paying attention to the 10s rolled during... We haven't had really much fire combat. The artillery, the ships would have fired 110, do you think? We think I've missed 110. Okay. So Ottomans pass. They've rolled a dice for killing time. Back over to the next wave. Let's bring on Major Morshead and the Indian Artillery and the 3rd Battalion, New South Wales. So we need 1 dice roll, 1d10. And it's a 6. They land on Anzac Cove. 1. They're going to come around 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They're going to make their way down into Y Gully 6. Actually, the artillery they'll drop off the artillery on the way, and we'll stop there. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Drop them, and then 6. All right, Ottomans are going to pass again. Can we get a d10? That's not a 7, 8, 9 or 10, so no killing time marker advancement. Back to the Australians. Birdwood now, landing... Actually, I want to leave Birdwood to last. Let's bring on the 1st Battalion and the 4th Battalion. So can we get another d10 roll? And it's a 5, so they land at Anzac Cove. And where do they want to go? Protect the southern flank here, Shrapnel Green. Or can we leave a later wave to do that? What could they do here? 1, 2, 3, 4. They have no commanders, so maybe they will go to Shrapnel Green and hope they don't get hit from Garbatepe. Alright, back over the Ottomans. They have a machine gun here and some howitzers who can now shoot on these positions. So they can combine the fire for 8 dice. We have 8 dice that come with the game, I think. So that's all the dice. And we'll get Major Ismet to boost their hit chance by 1. So we're looking at 8 dice. We are not at long. So we're looking at 5 or less, I think. These guys could be in trouble. 5 or less. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 hits, 2 10s. So 1, 2. These guys are in trouble. 5 hits, they're wiped out. This is a strong 1st Battalion. So the way that works is basically 1 hit, and I can replace them with remnants. 2, 3, and then 4, 5. Right, 5 hits in total. That's assuming I haven't made a mistake there with modifiers. And then the remnants go back into the remnants pool. So remnants are kind of like, help you track casualties as well. And this kind of is a good example of why that historical landing zone would have been dangerous because of Garbatepe. I think we've just kind of demonstrated the problem with a southern landing out in this open terrain. Ouch, that hurts. Back to the last boat now. Can we get a d10 die roll to see what these guys do? A 6 is Anzac Cove, so 1. We want to keep Birdwood safe. So how do we do that? One, I don't know. Historically, Birdie had his little dugout somewhere around Pluggy's Plateau. We've still got this remnant here. One. Let's send these guys up into Pluggies. Alright, so they will get a chance to... there's no reaction fire, but there is opportunity fire, but there is an advancing fire. So we get 2 dice rolls, needing 3 or less to hit. Miss. So we're really heading towards close combat here. Okay. Alright. Ottomans will... What are they going to do? I think we're going to bring... We're going to bring our cavalry. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, just to occupy Scrubby Knoll. And now we'll get a new wave. The New Zealanders begin to arrive. So can we get a D10 roll? See where they go. 2, they land to the south. Brighton Beach. 1, 2. Now, historically, New Zealanders are up north, but these guys have drifted. 2, 3. Do we charge Gaba Tepe? They're in a deep trench. 1. They're exhausted though. We get opportunity fire. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's charge in. Alright, this is interesting. We're charging into Gaba Tepe. We get 4 dice with a +1 modifier because of Brigadier Johnson. So we have, but -2. So we have 4 dice. -2 +1. So I think it's 3 to hit. Yeah, 3 to hit on 4 dice. 3 or less to hit. 1 hit. Alright, so how are the Ottoman forces going to take this? Do they take the commander off? I think they'll take their commander off and try and keep their guns, so they lose the commander. That worked out pretty well though. They got at least 1 hit. Okay, back over to the Ottoman forces. And they've got their machine gun left, and they've got some forces here as well. What I might do, I might just shift these guys north 1, 2 to hold Scrubby Knoll with that with the cavalry, so they're not too vulnerable. Leaves me with 1 unit left in here that is fresh. These guys have all been spent. We're done. Back over to the last 2 boats. A D10 roll to see where they land. Just one. That's a 3, so they land to the south. Brighton Beach, 1. We can charge. We can really send the New Zealanders. Oh, we can't go too far. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, and they're gonna have to stop there. All right. Back over the Ottoman side. Okay. I think we'll pass. So can we do another D10 roll? It's a 5, so no killing time advancement. Last boat. Can we get a D10 to see where they roll? Where they land? A 6, so they land at Anzac Cove. 1. Now they have Lieutenant Colonel Malone with them, who has 3 to their movement rate. This is a machine gun as well, so they can move 7. 1. And do we keep the New Zealanders all together? Yeah, kids are saying yep. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And I think we'll stop them there. Oh no! What do we send the machine guns in? Send them in for close combat. There's a thumbs up. Well, they'll get a roll of 0. This will be interesting. I don't know what's going to happen with machine guns in close combat. Now we still have Ottoman forces left. They could reinforce Gaba Tepe with this unit. 1, 2, 3. And in fact, I think they will. So 1, 2, 3 to reinforce. They'll get 1 shot off, so 1 dice. Needing a 4 or less. Nope. And they've got the machine gun up here, which I think 1, 2. In fact, they can actually shoot from there. They've got a range of 3. So guys, we'll shoot with this Ottoman machine gun from Chinook Bear down to Russell's top. Just let me check the range modifiers. Yeah, it's only infantry units. So they get 3 dice. They're in trenches, so -1. So 3 dice, 3 red dice, needing a 3 or less to hit. Oh, jeez. 3 hits. Oh my goodness. And there's only 2 units there, so they're both dead. And the Australians lose Russell's top. And they're done. So we do have an Australian remnant left. They can go 1, 2, 3 and march up to Russell's top. Yeah, that'll do. Back over to the Ottomans, and well, they've got their field hospital. Shall we use a field hospital to return an eliminated unit? So let's return this eliminated unit at Maltepe. The unit is fresh and may be activated immediately. Playing that counts as their round. So they can be activated for 4 movement points. 1, 2, 3, 4. That'll just hold that southern flank in case the New Zealanders get very successful out here. So we actually got through all our activations, probably because I wasn't watching the fire combat, probably because there's not a lot of fire combat on this first turn. Once we get through the activations, we resolve our close combats. And this is going to be interesting. This is where we use the close. There's only two close combats to resolve. We might do this one first, because this should be a pretty easy one. Close combat. Alright, so close combat, as I said, uses a system similar to that employed in Hannibal Rome versus Carthage. You've got this deck of close combat cards. The player with the morale advantage, who is the allies at the start, get to decide the order. So they wanted to resolve this one first. And they use their firepower factor in close combat. So this remnant has a 0 firepower factor. So you'd think they'd have a strength of 0, but you will get at least 3 close combat cards. So the Ottomans will get 3, and the Australians will get 1, 2, 3, 4, which isn't a lot. You can get up to 16 close combat cards. So the Australian and the Ottoman player. So I'll show you, lean this way a bit, and I'll kind of show you what the Ottomans have. Now the Australians are the attack. Oh, they get 2 cards per firepower factor. 2 cards. So the Australians get a few more. They get 4 more. 1, 2, 3, 4. So they've got a huge advantage. Now the way this works is the Australians will pick a card from their hand. This is the Ottoman hand. You see that? I'm trying not to show the Australians. The Australians will pick a card from their hand. Now there are 6 different types of cards. Okay. The attacker picks a card. Let's say they pick Raid. The defender has to match that. If they can't match it, they lose the combat. If they do match it, they roll a die and they try to seize the initiative. And then if they succeed in that, they get to play a card first. So let's see the Australians play a card down here. Pick any card. And often you're thinking he will be the most common card you've got. It's a deck of 36 cards. There are only 5 raid cards. So if you've got 5 raid cards in your hand, or if you've got 3 raid cards, you know your opponent will have at most 2. There are 6 infiltrate cards. So you know that if you have 4, your opponent will have at most 2. So generally you'll be playing the card that you have the most of, but sometimes you want to bluff. You want to play a card that you don't have a lot of to bluff your opponent into thinking you have a lot of that card. All right, let's see what the Australians play, and let's see if the Ottomans can respond. So go ahead, play that down. It's a raid card. Okay, we have a raid card, so we can respond immediately. and then we try to seize the initiative. We roll a die. We roll a 1. Now to seize the initiative, you need to roll less than or equal to 3. So we have seized the initiative, okay? So now the Ottoman forces, making sure the Australian player doesn't look at our hand. Which one? We're going to play an infiltrate. Okay, so we have the initiative. So now the Australian player has to play an infiltrate if they have one. If they don't, they can also play a reserve. So reserves are wild. You can play a reserve to match anything. Right? And if you have the card, you must play it. You can't give up. Another thing we could have done, in fact, probably a smarter thing for the Ottoman player to have done is attempt to retreat from the combat. But I've already played my card, so we'll go ahead with that. They have an infiltrate. Try and seize the initiative. So do you have a leader there? You've got... I'm sure I saw... Yep, this is where Birdie is. You'll use his leader bonus. But his leader bonus is currently 0, so no leader bonus. You need a 3 or less to seize the initiative. Birdwood seizes initiative. Okay. The Australians now pick a card to play. They play a raid. We don't have a raid, so we lose the combat. Okay? When we lose the combat, we lose 1 damage point for each card played, I think. We're only a remnant, so we're pretty handily wiped out. The winner loses 1 damage point for every 3 cards they played. They played 3 combat cards, so they lose 1 damage point. So we will reduce one of their battalions to a remnant. Let's take those guys and just replace them with a remnant. Okay, so some Australian casualties in that close combat, but they've captured that first plateau. A little bit slow. Okay, so the Australians won that. Now we advance down to Gava Tepe, and this is going to be interesting because the machine gun has 0 firepower. The howitzer has 1. That New Zealand machine gun we sent in is 0. Malone has a strength of bonus 2, even when exhausted. So New Zealanders are looking pretty good. You only pick 1 leader, so they have 2 leaders. So the New Zealanders will have... let's shuffle these cards back up, and we'll move to the second close combat. Now, are there any? Do you want to look through those, see if there's any action cards that can really shape close combat? Because it could be an important one. Actually. So the New Zealanders are going to play this, hand grenades, for 2 extra cards in close combat. Are the Ottomans going to play anything? Yeah, they're going to play any cards that influence... No, nothing that influences close combat. Alright, so the Ottomans get 4 cards, which is their firepower times 2. The New Zealanders get 8, which is their plus 2. So 2, 6, 7, 8 plus 2. So New Zealanders have a pretty strong hand here. 8 plus 2 for the hand grenades. They should get 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So they're in a very good position to seize Gava Tepe. Did the trenches affect close combat? A leader gives you their bonus in cards. The defender gets 1 additional close combat card, 2 if they're in a deep trench. So the Turks get 2 additional close combat cards, which means that those guys there should have got an extra card. I missed that. And the maximum cards you can have is 18, so half the deck basically. Alright, now the New Zealanders are the attackers. So, they get to play their card first. So what are the New Zealanders going to do? So this is the Ottoman hand that we're looking at here. We don't know what the New Zealanders have. They're playing an ambush, so we can match that. and we'll try to seize initiative with 3 or less. No. So, New Zealanders go again. They play a bayonet charge. We can match that. We'll try to seize initiative with a roll of 3 or less. Yes, we have the initiative. Alright. I'm going to play an infiltrate card. And a reminder, you can play a reserve card, and sometimes you get action cards that will let you play certain cards. So the New Zealanders try to seize initiative with a roll of 3 or less. They fail. We're going to follow up with another infiltrate card. New Zealand commander is looking nervous. Alright, they're going to have to pull out their reserves. Matches any other card. Okay. And they try to seize initiative on a 3 or less. No. Oh wait, they have a commander, so that succeeds actually. Sorry. With that infiltration roll, you add your commander's leader bonus. Now even flipped, Malone, who's a good commander, adds +2. So yes, they seize the initiative. Go ahead, New Zealanders. They play a raid. We have to play a reserve, and we'll try and seize the initiative on a 3 or less. Yes. And now, another infiltrate. So you can see here I'm playing to our strength. I know I've got 3. I had 3 at least. Oh, I think another reserve trench. They meet it. All right. Roll the dice. You need 5 or less because of Malone. Oh, they've got the initiative. A raid. We can't match that. All right. So, oh wow, the New Zealanders seize Gaba Tepe. Let's calculate the losses here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We are well and truly wiped out. So we lose a lot of Ottoman forces down at Gaba Tepe. New Zealanders played 7 cards. Divided by 3 and rounded down is 2. So they suffer 2 losses. Let's take a... let's take the Auckland Battalion and replace them with 2 remnants. Okay, because they're a strength 3. Actually, no, I apologise. Wait a minute. There's a rule here. I forgot this rule. Close combat losses. Close combat losses. I'm trying to find... Yeah, so when a fresh unit suffers damage point... Oh no, that's fine. Yeah, when a fresh unit suffers damage in close combat, the damage may not be absorbed by flipping the unit. They must be... yeah, so I think what I can do is take the Auckland Battalion and reduce them to 2 remnants, and then take 1 remnant off for my second loss. And I think that satisfies the losses. But the good news is New Zealanders have captured Gaba Tepe. Principally by virtue of landing principally at Brighton Beach and just swarming the area. And that's in a combat. So that's how close combat works. That is pretty much, let me just run through to the sequence of play. Check victory conditions. So the Anzacs, apologies, have captured 1, 2, 3, 4. If they can capture Third Ridge here, they instantly win. Okay, so they're not far from that. Considering the Ottomans advanced from Third Ridge and they pushed north, not far from that. We move the turn marker 1 space to the right. It's now turn 2, and we return to the beginning. So we'll flip all these units back to their exhausted side. We'll determine who has the moral advantage by rolling die and applying modifiers based on casualties. We'll draw new action cards, place ships in sea zones, and start all over again. So folks, that is the first turn of this first scenario from Assault on Gallipoli. I'll have much more coming up on this. Hopefully it's given you a bit of a rough insight. As I said, first playthrough for me, so I've probably made some mistakes. I wasn't watching the 10s in combat, so I may have made some mistakes there. Missed the extra card for this. May have missed some modifiers. I'll work through and see what else I've made mistakes of and try and correct it over this turn. Thanks everyone for watching, and take care.